Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another epic evening of racing action in the much-loved iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and proudly sponsored by none other than SIMAGIC. We're here today to continue the story of our strength-filled races. It is week 10 of the 2026 Season 1 campaign, and we have made our way to Japan for the Okayama International Circuit. However, we'll not be racing its full course today, but instead focusing our time around its start-finish straight, and in particular its short, sweet, and absolutely challenging 1.3 mile layout short course, whereby the aim of the game is to be the best in the corners. 7 corners at its core, very limited straights, and that means our drivers are going to need to get their elbows out, or alternatively make sure they make it count in qualifying from the outset, because track position here could be absolutely critical, as could the ability to be bold under braking. But who of our Toyota drivers today will be able to shine high in this strength-filled broadcasted race? Well, that's what we're here to find out as we welcome you to this live broadcast from Circuit Side. Indeed, right now you can be tuning all this race in action on YouTube at Paul's Productions. Indeed, go to youtube.com and search for Paul's Productions or PWP. And you can be tuning in there on a weekly basis as we bring you all the racing action from our regular straight-for-field race, which of course being hosted for this season on Saturday evenings in what is the 20:45 Greenwich Mean Time GMT or Universal Coordinate Time UTC time slot. But as we get ready to go, we say welcome to you guys and girls tuning in. Don't be shy, feel free to say hi. And as we get ready to go racing today, well, of course, we've only got one race on our schedule as our drivers are currently in qualifying, and that race is thus. In approximately what will be 4 minutes time, we'll be heading to the grid, and it will be a 15-minute show down here at Okayama, and at what will be 5 to 9, we'll be getting things all underway. Well, as we make our way into this week of racing, well, let's give you a recap of what exactly happened last time out and what we can expect coming into this week. Because as we can see, we have made our way around the globe and we continue to do so. Last time out, in week number 9, we were at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on the 14th of February, and what we got to see there was an absolute classic in terms of racing, where in the end, Michael McQueen was allowed to run away with proceedings after taking pole position by almost 4 tenths over Noel Sunderberg. However, after initial pressure from Sunderberg, he was able to walk away, as Noel Sunderberg meanwhile had to battle hard to hold on to second place, ahead of Josh Ball, Jan Szymanski, and also Luke Jolie, and he did very well to control the pack. As for your third place finish, after all his bad luck for several weeks in a row, particularly after the heartbreaker course that happened at the Red Bull Ring the week before on the race starts, Josh Ball was finally able to get things together and bring on home an absolutely infamous podium there in that third place finish, and he'll be hoping to go even further forward today. But of course, today is the 21st of February, and we are here in Japan, and next time out, we'll have the second of our potential rain weeks. It will be at Mexico City, where we wrap up our time in February on the 28th of February, and then we'll be leaping our way to Watkins Glen International for our final week of racing in week number 12, and that will be on the 7th of March. But what a season it has been, and we've still got more lying in wait. Now, in terms of the points from Division 1 coming into today, we can see that Brent Schneekloff right now absolutely leading the way, but Josh Ball is trying to close the gap as quickly as he can, now moving to second ahead of Michael McQueen. And then we do have Leo Mueller and Nick DeBeck round off that top 5, with Alexander Virimic ahead of Rafael Bardi, Will Overden, Nick Madsen, and Nico Weber completing your top 10 drives in the Division 1 official standings. But with that, let's come into talking about our circuit for tonight. It is, of course, the Okayama International Circuit short course, 1.3 miles in length or 2.09 kilometers. But depending on your preference unit, the one thing that never changes is the corners, 7 of them in total. And as we said only moments ago, all focused around what is the start-finish straight. We cut off the run in towards what will be your traditional turn 2, the left-hander, and instead cut away rightwards to make our way back into the very tight and technical latter half a lap, where we will see Piper, Redman, and Hobbs be the key thematic corners before our drivers make the way through Might Night Corner and last corner, aptly names it as the final turn of the circuit regardless of layout, and that will be 1 lap in the bag as quick as that. And there's going to be plenty of them here today, particularly with a lap time of sub 1 minute. You put the maths together and we are expecting at least 16 laps of racing here when we do go green. But indeed, as we get ready to go racing, a quick reminder of the rules. This is a fixed setup series with setups provided to our drivers ahead of each and every week of racing. As for the grid, we'll be setting it via a closed qualifying session, which is currently underway and due to close within the next 3 minutes, and we shall see the race commence via a rolling start as an edition of this series. Drivers shall meanwhile be disqualified if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. They've got to be on their best behaviour. But as we do make our way back to circuit side, well, who exactly is behaving themselves well and who perhaps right now is finding themselves in the naughty step when it comes to qualified? Well, we do look here to none other than Stefan Lovato, and will right now make his way on around here on what will be a cool-down lap. Indeed, I think most of the drivers have completed their laps, although Josh Ball immediately launched himself down his final flying lap up into 7th place for 57.763. We can see how tight it is going to be today when your pole sitter, Gavin Petty, is only 4 thousandths faster than Johannes Matson-Loglu, and well, it's then a further 36 thousandths back to none other than Daniel Slip. And well, right now looking absolutely tight. So I can imagine, or indeed we can imagine, I should say, that wherever our drivers qualify, that may not be where they finish today. Because of course, it only takes one driver to be a little bit bold under braking into turn one, and all of a sudden the entire starting order could be undone. Now, in terms of your strength of field for the racing here, we do have an improved strength of field today of what is the best part of 2,939, one of our highest for this season. Indeed, it's not quite the highest. The highest goes all the way back to week number 6, where we did have a strength of field of 3,089, but we're right back up there, even with the Bathurst 12 hours going on in parallel right now on iRacing. Well, all the drivers here, our superstars in their GR86 cars, have come out to play, and we're absolutely pleased to see that. But 19 drivers have made the way into our top split grid, and right now, as we do see Ball calling things on down, well, the only driver who has not set a lap is none other than Mario Marinov, but he is in the pit lane. He won't be going out there, so it does mean we will see the full length of this qualifying session, or at least 7 minutes of it, perhaps the entire 8, and therefore we get a little bit more time just to set the scene and see our drivers out there. Now, we do have a few recognisable names, 3 of them in particular. You have Josh Ball back once again, also Kyle Miller, who last time we saw him, of course, was at Road Atlanta in that absolute epic that didn't quite work out for him, but he absolutely enjoyed himself there on home soil. And we also got to see Gavin Petty out there, and well, Gavin Petty is back here today, and he is currently your provisional pole sitter, as Milan Schutten, meanwhile, make his way around there in the Shell V-Power sponsor machine, and he's hoping that he can find a bit more pace out there, because qualifying has definitely not gone his way, given the fact that he's going to be starting 15th at best. But as he ticks his way on around, well, we do say hello there to a few of you, including Nate Walsh, who's cheering on Josh Ball, who says the Yellow Magic Machine, let's go. We also do say hello there to Marcus Byfeld. Good to see you, Marcus. I hope you're doing well. Indeed, Marcus Byfeld, of course, racing in Skippies, is a very established Skippy driver, and well, you'll see him on a regular basis on this channel on Sunday evenings in the Skip Barber Community Trophy Series. And well, I hope you're doing well, Marcus. And we also do say hello to J Mando, who is cheering on none other than Josh Ball as well. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to make our way to the grid and see how they all line up for our one and only 15-minute race. And onto the grid they go, and as they do, this is how they'll line up for what is the Week 10 Strength of Field race here in the 2026 Season 1 campaign of the iRacing official Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC. It is Gavin Petty who takes pole position here at Okayama for PDR, just ahead of Johannes Matsanoglu, the Swedish driver there, 4 thousandths behind. It was then a further 400ths almost there to Daniel Stilp, and the British driver just ahead of none other than Matteo Glozl. The Austrian driver then being followed up by none other than what was the machinery of Kaz Fletcher, doing a very good job there to take 5th place on his debut for the Strength Field race, ahead of Adriel Gavalda, and the Spanish driver then being followed up by Josh Ball starting 7th, only 2 tenths between the top 7. And then further 200ths back, it was none other than Christopher Stone, ahead of Kyle Miller, who starts in 9th, and then it will be the Frenchman Stéphane Lovato, who completes your top 10. Outside the top 10, let's not forget about them. Starting in 11th place, best of the rest, is going to be Kilian Delano, and well, the Frenchman then being followed up by the Puerto Rican driver of what will be Jamie Santos. And then we do have Roman Fernandez, starting 13th, ahead of Nathan Jackson, with 15th place there going to Milan Schutten, the Dutchman just ahead of Rosa Cruz. And then we do have on the final 4 row of the grid, Van Schudapel, ahead of Vord Stunenberg, and then last but not least, with no valid time set, Mario Marinov. And well, will the Bulgarian driver make his way to the grid? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but it might be we've lost the driver before we've gone green flag race, and that happens every so often. Sometimes a technical issue with the car, alternatively a driver opts to retire, but hopefully we do get to see Marinov on the grid, because we'd love to see all 19 cars get this race underway. But most cars are on the grid. We are just waiting for the last couple to settle into position, and then we will be getting this formation lap underway, ladies and gentlemen. And when we do, well, it's a partial formation lap. We are not going the full distance, and in fact all 90 cars have made it onto the grid, which is wonderful to see. And now we do await for Gavin Petty to follow the pace car around. It's going to be a short run to the start of the race, but when he gets that time in line, he's the one who gets to dictate when we go grid, and understandably Matsanoglu will be very eagerly watching him to make sure that he doesn't lose out, because it's going to be a short run to turn 1, but it's going to be a critical one as they get the formation lap underway. All the drivers making their way on around here very quickly indeed. Best part of what is 50 miles an hour or so here as they make their way up the rises. But at full speed, of course, they'll be going even faster here. A little bit of tyre temperature if they can take it. A bit of brake temperature as well would not be unfortunate to take. And as they come down in towards turn 6 and 7, well, to Gavin Petty now, as we can see there, still right behind him, right his rear bumper. Well, Petty back in the field up already. He wants some clearance for the safety car. He's going to make them all queue up behind. But we await for him now to go green. And there he goes on the apex of last corner. We get underway, and it's for the first time we roar away down towards turn number 1. A lovely start there for Gavin Petty, no doubt about it. But now, 15 minutes of racing. Who exactly is going to be the one to get the job done? Well, Petty leads them into 1. But we can see there still meanwhile having to go defensive immediately versus what's the machinery of, I believe that was Gazoo behind. As Josh Ball already up 1 place into 6th place as he gets ahead onto the inside into turn number 2. Rest of the field now coming in towards that first heavy braking zone as they all come down. All the drives safely on through for now. As Stuenberg also get involved, and we're all making the way back on themselves now in towards turns 3 and 4. But what we'll see here is some of the quick fire direction changes. Being on the inside of one corner means you're on the outside of the next one, as that's going to be hard work there for none other than what will be Matteo Glorzel trying to hold on a little bit more, running in 5th place ahead of Adrian Covalda. And meanwhile, Kaz Fletcher trying to break away there in the Barbie machine. And right now, he's going to be looking for his Ken in front. And that's going to be Daniel Stilp. He'll be hoping to chase down, as we do see a flash of the headlights there from Glorzel. I wonder if these two have had a little bit of an altercation. And perhaps right now, Glorzel's not too happy about something that Fletcher has done. But indeed, we can understand that to be anything in terms of driver Morse code as they come towards the end of lap number 1. So after 1 lap, it is still Petty ahead of Matsunoglu. Then it's Stilp in 3rd. Fletcher has jumped up into 4th from 5th. Oh, that's getting very close to Tasty to the wall there as they bob and weave side by side. And in the end, well, Delomno is holding on versus Stone. Oh, well, they went all the way to the pit wall, but in the end, Christopher Stone right now looking for another opportunity here as meanwhile Ball looking up the inside of Miller. These two have raced together before, and I can tell you one thing, the rivalry between the two of them is fierce, but it's friendly. Let's come through the right in towards the left. Ball does get ahead there to hold off Miller, but he's lost out the place there to Gavalda by comparison, so therefore he's going to fall back a little bit more. We can see the scramble further back in this group right now as drivers bobbing and weaving left and right. But hold up a second, Gavin Petty's had a really poor run coming up through the hill here. It turns 5 into 6, and as he goes round, Petty loses the rear of the car. I'm not sure if he was touched there, but number 4 driver going completely backwards. That's not the way he wants it to go, and he's going to drop all the way down to the bottom end of the top 15, perhaps even out of it here as they all get ready to complete another lap. That's a disaster there for Petty. He drops to 13th place at the end between Shooton and Jackson, and now he's got all the work to do. But being a pole sitter, you would understand if he thinks he can get the job done, even so, as they make the way onto another lap. Matsunoglu now leading ahead of Stilp as they come into that braking zone. Stilp looking up the inside, can't quite find it at the moment. Kakor Miller, meanwhile, still fighting here with Delano and coming through 1 into 2. He's going to look from inside to outside here and then back to the inside again. And well, right now, Kakor Miller literally using all the width of the road. It's not going to quite work out as we do say hello to Nick DeBeck there in the YouTube chat. A regular entrant in the Strengthfield races when he's got the time, and I hope you're doing well, Nick. But up towards turn 4, and right now, no change there as Josh Ball definitely losing your top 5 now. Oh, that's a big dive to the inside there for Delano to cover off Miller, but they're both putting pressure on Ball in return as Gavin Petty meanwhile up the inside there of Shooton, so moving up to 12th place. So Petty back on the resurgence here. Shooton meanwhile, well, he's trying to fold off Jackson as David Jackson looks around the outside to the inside there, coming from 6 in towards 7. That's not going to work out. He's going to tuck back into line there in the Durex machine, and now roaring his way down in towards that braking zone. Well, understand he's going to be using protection there from hitting the rear of the car in front of him, but he'll want to go on the aggression where he can. But looking back to Stefan Lovato and Bastian Van Schadapel, well, as those two look to also get involved now. All the drives, to be fair, all together still. It's been brilliant racing, and it's going to be even more racing. There's what is Kakol Miller up the inside there of Delormo, and well, the Frenchman has to go wide. Miller this time surely getting the upper hand, but will he get it done as he's almost pushed into the corner there by Stone, who says, right, if you're going to go, Miller, I'm coming with you. And Stone right now can't make it work as there's a contact between Miller and Delormo, and that's going to send Kakol Miller out to the barrier, and in the end he hits it, and all the field weaves around him as they make the way towards the next braking zone, where it's all kicking off now. As suddenly the VRS machine here at Delormo is going to go deep at turn number 4, up the hill into 5 he goes, and looking around the outside there, Crystal Stone looking one way then the other, he goes to the switchback. It's getting very temperamental here right now. They're getting their elbows out, but keep it clean, guys, if you can, and it's not keeping the cleanest there. As you can see, number 8 driver, he's getting very impatient now in Stone, and up the inside it goes Santos here. Santos says, well, don't mind if I do in the all-white machine. Meanwhile, it's going around there. That's going to be a big spin for Fernandez. Fernandez goes spinning sideways, coming out to the final corner. I think he was tapped there on his way, but the rear of the car did look unsettled as well, and well, that oversteer is going to cost him majorly today. As meanwhile, we have a new leader in this race into turn 1. That is Daniel Stilp, making progress, and Matsunoglu is now forward back to second place, but the Barbie machine here of Fletcher going outside to inside into 3. He can't quite get it done. Can Kaz Fletcher? He's really tried harder as we ride on board with your third place driver. And right now, I can tell you one thing of the song, the Barbie Girl song, if any of you remember it, it starts off with Let's Go Barbie, Let's Go Barbie. Well, he's definitely going for it all in at the moment, but the problem is he's still got 2 more tries to find us, Fletcher, if he wants to make the magic happen in the number 18. One of your lowest rated drivers in this split, but to be fair to him, he's right now putting on a top level performance as he comes down through turn number 6 in towards 7. But Matsunoglu now 5/10 of a second ahead. And I think Fletcher just pushing so hard there, now waiting for these two to fight each other again. He's going to have to wait with Adria Gavalda behind him as we look to the rear of the Barbie machine. And well, there you can see Gavalda and Gluzl not too far behind as well, 4/10 off. And we'll understand here he wants to try and make sure that he doesn't fall back into the clutches of those two, because otherwise he'll be losing some momentum and he might lose the chance to fight for the win. And through turn number 2 they go, having to really go deep there under brake. You want to carry all the speed in. It sets up your run for turn 3 effectively, and that's what makes it such a challenging combination of corners, turns 2 and 3, and the fact that going deep initially is the aim of the game, but going essentially for a corner that you can't see, that's the hardest part, because you've got to have faith as a driver that you're eventually going to find that corner and find it at the right time. But meanwhile, there's Petty making another move in the foreground, and suddenly we've got side by side here between Schuton and Miller as there's a car around. That's Santos who's gone sideways there at turn number 4. I'm not quite sure how he's ended up there, but I can tell you one thing, the consequences are that he's lost out massively, and well, he gets himself back on the road as quickly as he can. Good to Coco Miller. He's still got Shooter right behind him as these two now get ready to complete another tour of the circuit. And well, as they come towards the end of it, we look back to none other than Killian Delolamo. And well, as he makes his way on to the next lap, Crystal Stone right there with him. Stone right now in that draft, looking around the outside. It does not flick to the inside here. The Frenchman in front of him does that immediately. So Stone's going to try and go all the way round, but gets blocked there on the apex. So that means he's going to look to the inside now into 2. Or is he? No, he's not. He's going to simply try and wait there and put the Frenchman under pressure. But for your number 8 driver, he gets a bit too eager with the throttle pedal and he loses it on the apex at turn number 2. And in the end, well, Crystal Stone goes almost around. He gets himself back pointing in the right direction. But that's Rosa Cruz going up the inside, so he drops down to 15th place. Their battle comes to a halt for a bit. Meanwhile, Mario Marinov here are making moves on the back of the field. He's up now into 15th. Is he? He may not be, to be fair, because he's on the inside for one hairpin, but he's on the outside for the next one. And Stone's never going to let him make that move happen in a million years as they come up towards turn number 6. So Crystal Stone does take 15th place back, but it was very close between the two of them. Now, as we get close to the halfway point of this race, we need to get some replays of some big moments from the start of this one, and we go all the way back to lap number 2. So this first, it was Josh Ball battling it with Kakon Miller in towards turns 2 and 3, and in the end, well, both drivers here got a bit eager, and Miller in the end did make the magic happen to stay behind, and with Ball, Josh Ball got the move done, but had to take a bit of a run wide there in order to be able to take the place, and in the end had to fend off what's the fights from behind, with Miller losing out in the end there to Delano. Then we did have a little bit later this for Gavin Petty towards the end of lap 2. This was your leader, and in the end it was side by side between the leader and also none other there than what was Johannes Matsunoglu. And well, he got past and then made his way to turn number 5, and well, so he tapped the rear Matsunoglu's car, and that sends him on around. We then had this for Kakor Miller on lap number 4. This is where it went really wrong for the big smiley face car. And we'll go through turn number 2, the long double right apex, bouncing over the curbs, and contact side to side there with Delano, and that caused him to go to the grass. Thankfully not to the barrier there. We thought he had hit the barrier, and that's why he's been able to carry on. Now this for Roman Fernandez, only moments later. This was Fernandez coming through turn 6 in towards 7, and there was Petty behind him, but in the end he went straight into the back there of Stone's car once, then twice, and that unsettled the car and sent it on around. So Fernandez there caused a bit of an incident of his own volition based on that camera angle. And on lap number 6, we've just had this for Jamie Santos in the all-white number 17 car, and he was making his way up towards the braking zone for turn number 4. That was Petty on the inside, turned in, Petty's nose was there, and unfortunately the two made haste towards each other, and it all fell apart. But back to your live racing we come, ladies and gentlemen, and in good time, because we are looking for another move here from Mario Marinov, and he's batting out the inside there of the Belgian flag machine of Van Schedepel, and as he comes in towards turn number 5, when the Belgian's going to hold him at bay there, but it's going to be a switchback for Marinov. Nice cut back there. So can he get this move done? The answer is going to be yes, no, maybe. He's right in the middle of the move, and in the end his rival gets it wrong. Oh no, that's disaster. That's going to make contact for both drivers, and that sends Van Schedepel across the road into contact, and as a result sees all of his race now fall apart. But meanwhile, whilst his race falls apart, and that of another driver as well, of Ward Sturenberg, also being caught up in that, we come all the way back to the front of the field, and this is Daniel Still. Still pushing on. Leader right now, ahead of Johannes Matsunoglu and Kaz Fletcher. But these top 3, they are fighting each other hard. And what it's doing is bringing 4th and 5th into the fray. Albeit won't be if 4th and 5th start to fight like this. Your number 16 there of Gavalda having to go defensive versus Matteo Gluzl. And Gluzl trying to get that full place back effectively after losing it right at the start. Whereas Gavalda, your Spaniard, is ahead of the Austrian, has gained 2 places since the beginning of this race. He's made a lot of progress. And something tells me right now he wants to make a little bit more. As you can see, the biggest winners and losers on the left-hand side of your screen there in the time and tower. Well, the biggest gainer of them all being none other than, I do believe, Nathan Jackson, your 9th place runner here in the Durex machine. And as he makes his way out to turn number 7 onto that start-finish straight, well, right now he's trying to find his way past Petty and Delolomo. Albeit, I think it's Petty here who's really trying to go on the attack, and Jackson is just watching by comparison, as Petty looking around the outside here on an old rival. And one number 4 driver here, I don't think he's going to be able to quite make the move, stick through one, but you can see there, Delano parking the car on the inside of the exit of turn number 1, and that shows you how much he's being threatened here in the number 5, because Gavin Petty right now very quick, and well, he's showing his fangs here already with 5 minutes left on the clock. But I think the challenger coming all the way from the back of the field now, up towards the win, might be nigh impossible, but to be fair, if he can get ahead of Delano, he then has 6 seconds to close out to Josh Ball, so I think it's going to be 7th or nothing for Petty in this point of time. But meanwhile, that's David Jackson being passed by Cool Miller, who just dives up the inside there, sees the space, takes a bit of grassfield exit, but he's not afraid to get his elbows out there, that's for certain. And suddenly Cool Miller making progress where his rival does not. We've got some damage to the car of Rosa Cruz, meanwhile, who dropping behind there. Marinov is going to go to his inside. Keep in mind, when he does have the meatball flag, he will have to come into the pits within the next 3 laps, otherwise he will effectively be disqualified from the race for driving a damaged car, so therefore he can't survive forever, and we are not going to complete the race within the next 3 laps, otherwise he can survive to the very end and he does not pick up a post-race time penalty. As Jamie Santos here will now go up the inside of the wounded number 12, and I think Santos will get this place back without issue. But from them, back to the lead as we come, and well, we've got not too long left, as that's a big tap on the rear there by Matsunoglu to Stilp, and Stilp right now knowing he can make his car nice and wide through these corners. And well, this is completely against the trend that we perhaps expected here today, with this being very much a follow-the-leader circuit, and the fact that we have seen multiple lead changes and we've seen multiple drivers make some huge moves over the distance. So they're all proving that you can come fighting at the Okayama International Circuit short course, because the forecourse back in the 1990s, where it was opened in the 1990s, early 1990s, as a private adventure, and well, in the middle of the 1990s, it was host to the second Japanese Grand Prix, where there were 2 Japanese Grand Prix in a season, with Okayama being the Pacific Grand Prix, for those who want a little bit of history. But in the end, Formula 1 moved away from here because it's a remote location in the Japanese countryside. But right now, in the countryside, we're hearing it roar to the tune of 2.4 litre boxer engines, and it's still right now, still holding on with Matsunoglu and Fletcher literally in a line behind, and neither driver here wants to go for a move on each other until they can find a way to get the upper hand on your leader in the number 2. Then we do see Matteo Glorzo has found his way ahead of Gavalda, and well, we'll see if we can get a replay of how exactly he got that move done. Here's a quick replay to explain. And this was coming down the start finish straight, in fact. So Glow's in the end tucking to the inside very gradually, and Gavalda not fighting it here into turn number 1. In fact, played it quite patient with a car coming up the pit lane on the inside. And well, that explains the story there. So straightforward move, and in the end, I think they decide not to fight through the risk of losing the leaders. Well, smart moves there, but I wonder if Gavalda is going to be regretting that later in the race, given the fact that we're not too far away from the finish now. 3 more laps to go, including the one we just got on to, based on my count, with 2.5 minutes left on the clock. But further back, we do have Killian Delano, meanwhile trying to hold off Miller and Jackson, with Petty also closed up to this group. So Gavin Petty continued to go on the rise. He has been forced backwards, in fact, Petty, and in fact, an off-track quite recently on lap number 13 has ruined all his progress. What exactly happened to Petty? Here's a quick replay of that. So this was Petty coming through turn number 2, with Miller just behind him, but in front there's Delano, coming 3 into 3 in the end. Did he just get it wrong here? Yes, he understeered out wide, albeit Miller in the end had an absolute mother of all runs coming out the corner. Petty went defensive here, and well, that tight. Did he get a bit too deep? The answer was no. So in the end, they stayed as they were, and it was into here. There was contact between Miller and Petty that sent Petty sideways, and in the end, Nathan Jackson was never going to wait for Petty to get straightened up. But meanwhile, we come back, and as we do, onto the penultimate lap. Here's Daniel Steele. Now 2 to go here on lap number 15. 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Still leading, and in fact now starting to assert a little bit of control over this race. The gap, 4 tenths over Matsunoglu, and what I do wonder whether now the idea is going to be here that they're trying to aim to finish where they currently are, although Kez Fletcher I think would love to take the win here, having started in 5th place, but as well the Barbie machine right now will definitely be feeling like a bit of a princess in being on that podium. But back to Miller, still fighting with Delano as they come through turn number 2. He's all over the back of the number 5 car, pushing it as hard as he possibly can as we ride on board for a brief moment, and we're looking one way then the other. But of course Miller, for all that pace he's got on corner entry to turn number 2, when he's hitting the rear bumper of the driver in front, that doesn't help him. As you can see there, one of the brake lights of what is Delano's car is broken on the rear left. Well, you get away with it today, but definitely right now the broken brake light there not helping out at all. That shows you that he's been in a few bumps and scrapes as they come in towards turn number 6. But down that hill they come, and meanwhile our leaders go onto the final lap of today. And for Daniel Still, it is one more lap between himself and a victory that will definitely feel a very hard-earned one, having started in third, having to fight his way through early on and really be Mr. Consistent here today. Matt Snodgrass, meanwhile, what can he do for the final time? Can he find a little bit of space to operate with, or is he going to have to wait? And Fletcher, meanwhile, falling back little by little. In fact, Kaz Fletcher has now dropped to 9/10 off the leaders. I think Tyre Life is going away for the number 18, given how hard he pushed at the start of the race, with Glorza and Gavolda, meanwhile, in the rear of the picture, round off that top 5. Josh Ball, only 6th at the moment, very comfortably at 7 seconds ahead of Delonamo, who's still keeping Miller and Jackson behind. But as they come up towards turn number 4, he's going to go defensive there as Delonamo. He's going to hold on and force Miller essentially to have to follow him through the hairpins. But as they come up the rise, ladies and gents, we come back to the front of the field, because heading towards the line, the checker flag awaits him. And for Daniel Stilp, he may have qualified third, but in the end, he's going to be one to get the job done here and take victory in Japan with a win by 5/10 of a second over Yannis Matsanoglu. And then it will be Kaz Fletcher completes your top 3, with Matteo Closer in 4th place ahead of Adrian Govalda. And then we do see Josh Ball coming over in 6th place. What about the fight for 7th? It's going to go to Delonamo in the end, ahead of Miller, Jackson and Petty, who rounds off the top 10. And then it will be Milan Schuster who finished 11th, best of the rest, just ahead of Mario Marinov, who then came through for a 12th place finish, just ahead of Stefan Lovato. And then we will have Jamie Santos and Ward Sturenberg round off that top 15. And then it will be none other than Roman Fernandez, who will come in 16th place in a bit of a frustrating race for him after an early contact that sent him backwards from that 13th place start. But to be fair, to see him finish the race, that's just as valuable as he comes across that timeline. Sadly, we did have a lap down for Bastian van Schederdale, and we also did see retirements for Rosa Cruz and Krista Stone. But as the drivers do cool them down, definitely an exciting race here at Okayama, and well, Josh Ball in the end perhaps didn't have the most exciting end to his race compared to his start, but he enjoyed himself out there. But today, Daniel Stilp definitely was the driver to beat, and there's no doubt about it. But as the drivers make the way into the pit lane and cool things are down, well, let's cool things are down here in the commentary booth and take a look at those race results, subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And as we can see, after 15 minutes of absolutely brilliant racing for our Week 10 Strength and Field race at the Okayama International Circuit's short course here in the 2026 Season 1 iRacing Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC campaign, Daniel Stilp may have started third, but in the end he took the win by half a second over Ioannis Matsanoglu. The Swedish driver in the end may have started in second, and that's exactly where he finished, but at one point was leading, but still the British driver was able to carve his way past. Kaz Fletcher, starting in 5th, very quickly found his way into 3rd. He had to get his elbows out to do so, but he'll be happy with that performance. Ahead of Matteo Glorzu, who was able to gradually craft a 4th place ahead of the Spaniard of Adria Gavalda, albeit the two drivers there obliging one another and working together to try and chase down the podium, but it wasn't to be. Behind Gavalda, it was 6th place for Josh Ball ahead of Kilian Delonamo, and the Frenchman there ahead of Cacol Miller, who back on the grid once again, and was not quite able to repeat his heroics of Road Atlanta, but seeing the end of the race this time, thankfully, ahead of Nathan Jackson, who took 9th place, and it was PDR's Garen Petty, who rounded off the top 10 after his pole position start. Contact unfortunately sent him backwards, and he was able to recover to finish inside the top 10 just about. Milan Schuster finished in 11th place there, the Dutchman having a solid drive, having started in 15th and making up 4 places ahead of Mario Marinov, who started from the very back of the field with no qualifying lap set. But to be fair to the Bulgarian driver, he enjoyed himself. And Stefan Lovato in 13th, just ahead of Jamie Santos, whose mid-race instance cost him dear. And then we did see at Vord Studenberg, although he had that major contact towards what was the middle point of the race coming into the final quarter, he was able to survive it, the American driver, and able to carry on and finish the race on the road in 15th place. Roman Fernandez took home 16th, the last year lead lap finishers, and it was a lap down to Bastian van Schederdale, ahead of Rosa Cruz, who was 5 laps down in retirement. And we also did see an early retirement for Christopher Stone after an early turnaround. But with that, ladies and gents, well, what a race it has been here today. An absolutely epic race for week number 10. And congratulations to all the drivers who finished the race. And a huge congratulations to our podium finishers of Kaz Fletcher in 3rd, Ioannis Matsanoglu in 2nd, and Daniel Stilp, your race winner. But as the circuit falls silent, and we haven't got long before this broadcast is going to fall silent, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to give you a quick talk about our title sponsor for this series, and that is none other than SIMAGIC. Now, a big thank you to SIMAGIC as our series sponsor, because it would not be possible without their input with regards to the Toyota GR86 Cup. And in terms of SIMAGIC, in terms of knowing a little bit more about them, well, founded in 2018 on the basis of the question, how can we bring the thrill of real racing into everyone's home? SIMAGIC has rapidly evolved its product range into a full racing ecosystem. Because whether you are looking to get your hands on steering wheels, servo bases, pedals, handbrakes, or shifters, Every component is engineered in-house and built to reflect the company's commitment to innovation, quality, and delivering uncompromising performance when you are racing. So if you want to keep chasing pole positions, podiums, or personal bests, why not check out SIMAGIC's range of products at SIMAGIC.com. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, we turn our attentions to next time. But where exactly are we going to be for our penultimate week of racing? We make our way to Mexico City. And it will be the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which will be playing host there, a circuit relatively new to the iRacing simulator as of 2025. But in Mexico, who exactly will fly high at the high-altitude circuit? We will find out in a week's time, as we invite you to come join us as the race unfolds live from our regular Strength of Field race on Saturday, the 28th of February, 2026. You've got to be there, otherwise you'll miss it, and you won't want to miss it. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we have been the iRacing Toyota GR86 Cup by SIMAGIC. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuned into a Paul Walsh production. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.